Mr. Peter Shiu. Thank you, Deputy President. The Liberal Party supports the motion moved by Mr. Adrian HO. Facilitating land-based cross-boundary transport is important for economic integration and exchange of people. Now, the one-hour living circle in the Bay Area is all about connectivity in terms of hardware, that is infrastructure, software, policy, and also technological connectivity. Mr. Adrian HO mentioned the idea of one vehicle, multiple ports. Now at present, there are 4 main BCPs for vehicles, that is Huanggang, Shenzhen Bay, Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, and Liantang. For the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, that's the major route for drivers under the southbound travel scheme and the northbound travel scheme. Now the vehicular design, the design capacity for the bridge is 60,000 cars per day. At present, there are only 18,000 vehicles traveling on the bridge daily, so there's much room for enhancing the use of the bridge. Now, Mr. Adrian HO calls for enhancing the other 3 BCPs as well. Of course, if that can be done, we can facilitate movements of people. Now, these BCPs will facilitate travel along the west and east. It will be convenient for drivers going to different destinations, but we need to consider the carrying capacity of the BCPs. For Huanggang, it is the main entryway for cars from Liantang and Shenzhen Bay. Now, the new ports will only have a carrying capacity of 15,000 vehicles per day. Now, in the past, the design capacity for passengers was 50,000. Now, it is 200,000. I think the thinking is that most passengers will travel to Huanggang via public transport and railway. So the vehicles would be diverted to Liantang and Shenzhen Bay. Now, because of the reduced carrying capacity at Huanggang, most drivers will still choose the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge. Now, in terms of making the customs clearance procedure smart with facial recognition, that will be indeed convenient for drivers. Now, for the new Huanggang port, the collaborative inspection and joint clearance model will be implemented. That's also the suggestion called for by Dr. Ben Chen. Of course, I will support this. With technology, we can clear the custom faster. Now, when I went to Macau, so that's Hengqin, it was very convenient. Now, if I can clear the custom in one go, that would be very convenient. I didn't even need to provide my Hong Kong ID card. I just need to have my home return permit with me. So let's make the best use of our BCPs to facilitate inbound visitors. Now, southbound scheme is very important for our retail and catering sector. At present, the quota is just 100, but I think the number will be larger in the future. So over the past few months, we saw no particular adverse impact on our local transportation system. So the government can consider boosting the number to 300 or even 500 and allow the drivers to stay for longer, like 5 days. That would make itinerary planning more convenient. Now at present, there are 4 locations, Guangzhou, Zhuhai, Zhongshan, and Xiangmen, covered by the scheme. Let's expand the scheme to Foshan, Dongguan, Huizhou, and so on. So far, the number of applications is not great. So I believe we should bring more mainland drivers to come to Hong Kong to boost our economy, especially the design capacity, 60,000 for Hong Kong China Macau Bridge, is not fully utilized. Thank you. Mr. Kasap Tam. Thank you, Deputy President. I thank Mr. Adrian HO for his motion. The Reform and Development Commission published the 3-year development plan for high-quality Bay Area. It stresses the importance of connectivity and international competitiveness. A number of measures have been proposed, including enhancing the convenience of cross-boundary customs clearance. Now, Guangzhou and Shenzhen have implemented a lot of measures over the past 2 years to facilitate transport. Now, by the end of last year, at Huanggang, Diantang, Luohu, and other BCPs, facial recognition smart customs clearance have been implemented. Travelers no longer have to produce their identification documents. Now in 2026, that is the last year of the 3-year plan, the measures will definitely step up. Now besides passenger flow, we need to enhance the traveling experience of passengers. Now, I've also called for the study of one vehicle, multiple ports arrangements. Now, there are 7 BCPs, with the Lothair Innovation Zone, Hong Kong Park being commissioned, and also the development of new territories north yielding fruit. There will be greater demand for traffic. One vehicle, multiple ports can facilitate quicker flow. Now, the Transport Department already has an app to disseminate real-time waiting information at BCPs. Now, we should extend this arrangement to drivers. The app should provide real-time information on the volume of vehicular flow and waiting time so that the drivers can choose the most effective route. Now, I'm very concerned about the traveling pattern of our residents. I support extending the operating hour of the BCPs. Now, the busiest BCP is the Luohu and Lok Ma Chau ports. However, the Futian port only operates until 10:30 p.m. Let's extend it to midnight to align with the Luohu port's operating hours. During weekends and holidays, it can be extended to 2 a.m. Now, Diantang is the only port allowing both vehicles and passengers to cross. Now, the capacity is just 30,000, but now there are 80,000 people traveling across the BCP. I think it is necessary to extend the operating hours or even make it around the clock to facilitate transport. Of course, I understand that it involves manpower on both sides. So let's make use of innovative technologies and implement contactless customs clearance at more BCP so as to reduce manpower requirements. Now, at the new Huanggang port, the new arrangements of collaborative inspection and joint clearance will serve as an example. We can extend the arrangements to other ports, including the redeveloped Shuttlecock port. I'm pleased to hear that other members also call for speeding up the redevelopment of the Shuttlecock port. I believe that after the redevelopment, we can further alleviate the burden on cross-boundary traffic. But concerning the impact on our economy, with more convenient cross-boundary services, it will not just facilitate northbound flow of people, but also southbound flow. The key is we need to create a robust boundary control point economy and facilitate consumption locally. We need to turn people flow into economic growth. Now, with the development of Northern Metropolis, there will be greater flow between the two places in terms of people, data, and logistics. Facilitating land-based cross-boundary transport can bring us more opportunities. Thank you.
Mr. Alpatron. Thank you, Deputy President. I speak in support of the original motion and the amendments. As we see a deepening of the construction of the Greater Bay Area, and we have connectivity in terms of transport infrastructure. It has laid solid foundations for coordinated development of the region. And with integration in transport, it not only shortens the physical distance between the cities, but also deepen integration, promoting the flow of various factor input. Hong Kong as a core city in the Greater Bay Area, we should take advantage of our specific position, and we need to plan in advance in terms of infrastructure. The northbound travel for Hong Kong vehicles and southbound travel for Guangdong vehicles are significant measures. And we have now Guangdong vehicles being able to enter urban areas. This marks a key milestone. And according to a survey within this month, half of those taking advantage of the arrangements will stay in Hong Kong for 1 or 2 nights. This will greatly boost retail and F&B sales. However, we need to review whether the existing quota and coverage can really unleash the potential economic benefits. And for the regular quota for Hong Kong private cars, I think the government should be more ambitious. Right now, for southbound travel for Guangdong vehicles, we only have 100 quotas. Since we already have quite smooth operations early on and we have not seen any serious accidents, 6 months later, when the administration extends the arrangements to 4 other cities, we should increase the number of quotas and relax the restriction on people, how many days people can stay in Hong Kong. This will give more time for visitors to embrace the culture of Hong Kong and see the different features of Hong Kong, boosting consumption. In the motion, it talked about exploring the feasibility of implementing a one vehicle, multiple ports arrangement. I think we should really explore this. If we can remove the restriction, it can be very flexible and there will be essentially seamless transition within the Greater Bay Area. As we see greater mobility of cross-boundary vehicles, we really need to enhance administrative efficiency. In the original motion, it talked about continuously enhancing, digitalizing processes related to cross-boundary driving. We should really refer to the experience of northbound travel for Hong Kong vehicles to have a unified management platform and provide digital one-stop service so that locals, Hong Kongers and visitors do not have to queue for registrations and renewals. I want to say in particular with enhancing cross-boundary transport, it's not just about connections but also providing convenience. We have now some charging infrastructure alignment, and this is how exactly we can enhance visitor experience with soft connectivity. We should encourage more shopping malls and hotels to provide such infrastructure, as well as provide information on the usage of parking spaces and charging infrastructure to make it more convenient for mainland visitors to drive in Hong Kong. We should keep an open mind and be proactive and break through the restrictions in transport so that people on the mainland as well as Hong Kong can benefit from such developments. Mr. CHONG, Deputy President, as we see a confirmation of the development positioning of dual circulation as well as the Greater Bay Area being a strategic program of development, the government should continuously enhance cross-boundary transport, hardware and software to promote the seamless flow of people, vehicles, and cargoes. I have some suggestions. One, we should extend the operating hours of boundary control points to meet the demand of the people. Right now, we have many people going north for consumption. Every weekend, there are crowds. Only Hong Kong Port and Hong Kong Zhuhai Macau Bridge provide round-the-clock clearance. It does not meet the nighttime transport demand. So we can take a gradual approach and pilot in some locations, extending the operating hours of certain ports. Shenzhen Bay Port has good traffic and it is close to strategic locations. We can explore piloting, extending the operating hours in Shenzhen Bay Port. First, we can gradually extend the operating hours from midnight right now, and maybe we can explore the feasibility of providing round-the-clock clearance. Hunyuan Wai Port and Futian Port should also have their hours extended to midnight. Two, we should unify the ticketing rules for express railing. As we have the commissioning of the West Kowloon station, we have seen more direct access mainland destinations. While we have more destinations, we have not had an alignment of rules, especially with ticket refunds. It has affected visitor experience. It has also hurt the integration of the Greater Bay Area. The refund fees compared to the mainland sections is double the cost in the mainland, and right now between 48 hours 50% would have to be charged. Even if one gets a refund 8 days before, a 5% charge will be charged. So it is very much different from what is on the mainland. I urge the MTRC work with the China Railway to minimize such discrepancy. We should also improve on the arrangements on Guangdong vehicles going southbound. We should expand the coverage of southbound travel for Guangdong vehicles, increase the number of quotas, and allow people to stay for more days. But before we undergo expansion, we need to deal with existing issues. Before, the Transport Department did not restrict the light transmission rate of glass. And in fact, local vehicles cannot use tinted glass at all. According to the mandatory requirements of the country, there should be unified standards in Hong Kong and the mainland. And in fact, when Hong Kong vehicles go to Guangdong, we need to have a light transmission rate of over 70%. The Secretary for Transport and Logistics, when giving a reply to my question, said that we should have a regular review of rules and standards. And I think in terms of legislation, we can refer to the mainland experience because the mainland still had the requirement for a light transmission rate. But then for the backseat windows, I think we can relax certain restrictions. As long as we account for safety, if we align with the rules of the mainland, it can provide some convenience. I so submit speaking in support of the motion and the amendments. Ms. Michelle Tang. Deputy President, promoting land-based cross-boundary transport does not only provide convenience to the people, it also helps Hong Kong integrate in depth into the development of the country and improve connectivity within the Greater Bay Area. To consolidate the hub status of Hong Kong, we must be forward-looking and pragmatic in promoting the flow of people and data input, factor input. We should fully align with the National 15 5-year plan and construct a modern integrated transport system. We should integrate in depth with the express rail link and road systems of the mainland. we need to promote the implementation of the 1 hour living cycle. We should not only connect on a hardware level, but also on a software level. I suggest the government enhance coordination and planning. We should also have more ancillary facilities such as boundary connections and smart systems. The SAR government should also fully reform clearance modes because clearance efficiency is directly related to convenience of cross-boundary transport. Our land boundary control points suffer great pressure, and the Hanyun-Wai boundary control point is already accounting for a flow of 3 to 4 times its design capacity. The Luowu port is also overburdened. These are persistent problems, and we can see in the Hangchun port they have success with the collaborative inspection and joint clearance mode. It shows that this new mode can provide great efficiency. I urge the SAR government work with the mainland to have co-location arrangements in Express Rail Link and other traditional ports. We should also enhance the stability of smart clearance systems. We should also make sure we tackle the problem with transport connections and extend the operating hours of busy ports to promote the flow of people. The SAR government should work with the MTRC and the China Railway Company to implement improvement arrangements. We really need to implement the flexi trip arrangements. Right now, it only works for Futian and Shenzhen Bay. We should extend the arrangements to other stations in the vicinity. We should actively introduce modes for same-day, one-time valid tickets. We should strive for more direct access mainland destinations, especially on long-haul routes, to enhance the functions of Hong Kong as a transport hub. As a female professional, I'm especially concerned about with more females working in both Guangdong and Hong Kong. It is very important for us to improve accessibility. I hope that in future the HKSAR government can consider commute needs of female. For example, having some family-friendly facilities at ports as well as connecting stations, improving the waiting environment and providing a greater commute experience for females to show the government's people-centric approach. We need to continuously enhance cross-boundary private car commute arrangements as well and implement the one vehicle multiple ports arrangement. We have seen before the current arrangements being well received, but there is exactly great demand, which is why we need to enhance flexibility and efficiency for dual plate private cars. We should also streamline the procedures of applying for e-permits and enhance publicity and education to enhance road safety. I so submit speaking in support of the motion. Mr. Rock Chan.
President, as interconnectivity and coordinated development of the Greater Bay Area continues to improve, we have seen increased flow of cross-boundary private cars in the area. So I speak in support of Mr. Adrian HO's motion. There is a need to facilitate land-based cross-boundary transport. I have 6 suggestions. There are 6 land-based BCPs in Hong Kong. Now, through the northbound travel for Hong Kong vehicles and the southbound travel for Guangdong vehicles schemes, cars can make use of the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge to cross the boundary. For other private cross-boundary private cars, however, they need to be equipped with licenses in both places. They also need to participate in the regular quota for Hong Kong private car scheme and use designated BCPs to go to and from the two places. With increased demand for cross-boundary traffic in northern metropolis, the current arrangements will not be sufficient in meeting the demand for better integration into the Greater Bay Area. Now, the dual license plate vehicles should be allowed to use other BCPs. There should be flexible traffic diversion. The SAR government may be concerned about possible traffic congestion in the vicinity, but I think that the problem can be solved. The new Hong Kong port to be commissioned will provide a new opportunity for us. Using the collaborative inspection and joint clearance model, passengers will only be required to authenticate their identities once, and this can shorten the clearance time frame to just 5 minutes. So my suggestion is to introduce facial recognition and biometric verification technologies for passenger and vehicular clearance, so that passengers do not need to get out of their cars in order to go through the clearance procedures, and that no additional time will be required. And this can also create a precedent for more BCPs to adopt the same model in the future. And to avoid causing traffic jams at individual BCPs, I suggest that both governments collaborate and roll out a real-time traffic information platform, so that private car drivers can choose the routes best suited to their needs based on the traffic circumstances. The regular quota scheme can remain, and private cars must make online booking in advance for using non-designated BCPs. Now, in light of the northern metropolis development, there is a need to expand the road capacity to ease traffic congestions. We should also optimize the regular quota scheme as well as the southbound travel for Guangdong vehicle schemes. My suggestion is for the government to conduct a review as quickly as possible, and without compromising our road capacity, the government should gradually increase the quota under these two schemes, especially during long weekends and holidays. We should also step up publicity to help motorists familiarize themselves with the laws in both places. We should continue to optimize the application procedures for licenses online. Now, going digital is the inevitable trend. The government departments should speed up the process of digitalization, and that with a smart government initiative, there should be more convenient services for the public. I support the motion and the amendments. Mr. Zhou Chen. Thank you, President. The northbound travel for Hong Kong vehicles scheme has proven to be effective. Over 8.4 car trips have been recorded on the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge. They are not dual license vehicles, and 6.8 million car trips and have also been recorded in 2025 across the boundary. Now, northbound consumption and Hong Kong people driving up north for retirement and for consumption have become a new normal. There will be major changes if we do not fully open up other land-based BCPs such as Shenzhen Bay and Menkam To Lok Ma Chau. We need to strike a balance. Now, there are 3 points. First, with greater integration of the transport networks across two places, the residents in the new territories can go to Shenzhen within just 10 minutes, and we can truly build a 1-hour living circle for residents to work or to live or go to school in the area. Now, we can also create impetus for local consumption. The southbound travel scheme also attracts mainland visitors to come and spend at restaurants and hotels and shops. The infrastructure development can allow better diversion of traffic at BCPs. This can ease the pressure on the Greater Bay Area. Together with the northern link, we can enhance the overall efficiency of the transport network. But at the same time, we need to consider what happens during the peak period and the problem of capacity and safety in NT Northwest. The driving habits may not be the same. There might be traffic violations, and the cases may be more complex. We also need more manpower at the BCPs, and we should adopt a smart system. There are also disputes regarding the light transmission rate for private car windows. Now, we can overcome these challenges in an orderly manner. For example, for the Shenzhen port or the new Hong Kong port, we can provide safety training courses at these BCPs with greater demand. We can also introduce a quota system for long holidays. Now, it's a balancing exercise, President. I support fully opening up the 6 land-based BCPs. This is all about promoting mutual flow in the Greater Bay Area so that we can enjoy prosperity and build a better home for everybody, and that we can leverage on our advantages. I support the motion. Mr. Jonathan Lamport. President, with greater integration with the Greater Bay Area, we now see more frequent flows of people and goods and more business dealings across a boundary, and there is a greater demand for land-based cross-boundary transport. The government should ensure order and safety at the BCPs, and on this basis ensure that better connectivity is provided to enhance efficiency. I thank Mr. Adrian HO for the original motion and 6 members for their amendments so that we can discuss the various enhancement proposals. One key point in this motion is to introduce a one-vehicle, multiple ports arrangement for cross-boundary private cars so that these private cars will not be required to use designated BCPs. Now, I support this proposal. At the moment, the road network near the BCPs in the new territories is undergoing transformation. There will be enhanced capacity together with the redeveloped Hong Kong port, which will soon be commissioned. There will be opportunities for us to introduce a one-vehicle, multiple ports arrangements to enhance efficiency. Without compromising safety, we can allow more flexible options for cross-boundary cars, and this will be important for SMEs. My next point is about northbound travel. This is a pilot policy, and it is a very important scheme for the business sector in Hong Kong. Now, according to the record, by the middle of 2025, over 1,800 vehicles have signed up for the northbound travel for Hong Kong vehicle scheme, up from 7,000 in the past. Before the scheme's implementation. It's now a major option. According to the business sector, there are apparent advantages. The Hong Kong GCC conducted a survey. 38.7% of enterprises responded by saying that in the coming year there will be greater demand for investment in the Greater Bay Area, and there will be a stronger demand for cross-boundary land transport. This will bring vibrancy to the regional economy. Many SMEs, however, do not own a dual license plate. When they need to travel to the mainland for business, they need to rely on public transport. They need to queue up in order to go through clearance, and it's really inefficient for businessmen. Now, with the northbound travel scheme, they can make flexible arrangements. They can save time, and they will have time to handle contingencies, and it also helps them save manpower and enhance operational efficiency. I hope the government will discuss with the mainland authorities and further enhance the scheme. In fact, the government already introduced some new arrangements. Starting from September last year, there's no need to make advance booking for traveling up north on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. This helps business operators travel up north for business negotiations. More flexibility should be provided to meet their needs. The government should discuss with the mainland counterparts on the possibility of further expanding the scheme so that without advance booking during weekdays and during business hours, enterprises can make use of this opportunity to go up north quickly. I also support other enhancement proposals such as streamlining the application procedures, lowering costs, and rolling out monthly passes for the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, or even annual passes, in order to lower costs in the short run. Now, the northbound scheme should be expanded to cover other BCPs as also submit.
Mr. Lee Kuan Yew. Thank you, Deputy President. I speak in support of the motion moved by Mr. Adrian HO on facilitating land-based cross-boundary transport. Now, the southbound travel for Guangdong vehicle scheme will integrate Hong Kong into the GBA economy and unleash cross-boundary consumption potential. Some 2,500 drivers have come to Hong Kong by this scheme, and more than a few thousand vehicles have applied for a quota. Now, compared with high-speed rail, with fixed departures, the flexibility under the southbound travel scheme can meet different needs of travelers. The scheme is premised upon safety and orderly travel, while facilitating convenient travel from the Bay Area to Hong Kong. However, we shouldn't judge the success of this scheme by the numbers. We need to consider the impact on our carrying capacity. We have very limited spaces and we have limited road carrying capacity. In Yama Day and Nathan Road, it's very difficult to find a parking space, even for local drivers. Now, the Hong Kong e-mobility is an app with a dedicated page for the southbound travel scheme, showing real-time information on parking space. There is also an information center in Lantau Island, providing charging support for cross-boundary drivers. So the government has been making planning in advance, so I applaud the government's efforts. However, in terms of the long run, to alleviate the pressure on parking spaces and road capacity, we need to harness the power of technologies. Specifically speaking, the government should enhance interfacing with major navigation app so that drivers will learn about the latest information on availability of parking spaces from navigation app. They will also receive alerts when they are entering narrow roads. Also, I suggest strengthening the functions of the Hong Kong e-mobility app to support advanced booking for parking space, diverse payment methods, and also interfacing with navigation apps, so that on a single platform, drivers can complete the entire process of inquiry and booking. In the future, we should make greater use of big data and AI to enable dynamic allocation of parking space, resources, and diversion of traffic to ensure smoothness on roads. Now, the efficacy of technologies depend on a strong administrative system. Now, the crucial thing is whether information is made available to all parties and whether there are good interfacing. So I support the direction of the motion. The priority should be enhancing the application for the schemes and also establishing a mutual recognition system for driving licenses. Through a single platform, both governments can have access to the driver's information, thus realizing the vision of one certification and multiple usage. Second, we need to enhance developing the online driving license approval system. At the same time, we can streamline the booking workflow and the approval timetable. Combined with the digital system, we can prevent overnight queues waiting for parking spaces. Now, the success of these schemes are not just dependable upon the BCPs, but rather whether we can combine technology with government service. Riding on this opportunity, we need to ensure data sharing between departments and empower our smart city. Thank you. Mr. Alan Chan. Thank you, Deputy President. Concerning facilitating land-based cross-boundary transport in the Bay Area. I applaud the governments of the three places for their efforts in recent years. There has been a series of facilitating measures for individuals and businesses, fulfilling the concepts of integration. Now, the direction of enhancing the flexibility of private car across the boundary is good. Now, when the Man-Kam Toll BCP was opened, there was not a quota. There was already a one-vehicle multiple port system because there was not restriction on it. However, back then, all cars flooded to Man-Kam Toll and inundated the port. Afterwards, when the Shenzhen Bay port was opened, all cars then flooded the Shenzhen Bay BCP. So the customs, the police, and also the transport system established a quota system to allocate the resources of BCP more appropriately to ensure that there is sufficient manpower for customs clearance. Now, in the early years, there was a time limit. You would have to cross the border at a certain specified time. Later on, it became more flexible, and you can cross the border on a specified day. Now, in terms of the quota system, there will be several issues about the one-vehicle multiple port system for private cars. It would lead to an imbalanced use of BCPs. According to government data, inbound and outbound private cars recorded 4.7 million, much larger than the figures for coach buses. Now, without appropriate diversion of traffic, it would inundate BCPs or render some BCPs with insufficient patronage. Now, without sufficient thinking in advance, the policy may backfire and lead to longer queues at certain BCPs, causing inconvenience to drivers. Second, there are differences of inspection on both sides. In the mainland, only drivers are allowed to stay on the vehicle. All passengers must alight the vehicles for customs clearance. Now, in the mainland, there is more manpower to deploy. On the other hand, on the Hong Kong side, all passengers can receive customs clearance on board the vehicle. If there are 5 passengers on the vehicle, it may be equivalent to 5 vehicles for clearance. The manpower cost and time cost is huge. More importantly, there is insufficient space within the BCP to diverse the vehicles. The lanes are narrow and there are lots of constraints. There will be a lot of bottlenecks. So my suggestion is, 1, in the long run, with the increase in cross-boundary visitors number, we may have to review whether the on-board customs clearance will suffice to meet the demand of customs clearance. And also, we have fiscal constraints. If we have to increase the manpower from the customs and the immigration, it may add to the financial burden of the government. So we need to start a public consultation on this, on whether we should, on the ratio of passengers using on-board clearance or other clearance model. Now, in the future, the BCP should be adjacent to the clearance building, and passengers may decide whether to alight the vehicles for clearance based on the length of the queues. But there should be different lanes. For example, lane A for diplomats and politicians, and also for people in need, for example, pregnant women and elderly people. Thirdly, we need to enhance the implementation of the joint clearance and collaborative inspection model and make better use of data science. Drawing the reference from the new Huanggang port, we need to replace the co-location arrangements with the new collaborative inspection arrangements and dynamically deploy manpower. time's up. Next, Mr. Aaron Bok. Deputy President, all along, I have been supportive of strengthening ties between Hong Kong and the mainland. This is mutually beneficial. Now, the recent measures include the northbound or southbound travel scheme to the urban area. Starting from last year, the first batch application has been opened to Zhuhai, Foshan, Xiamen, and another city. There were 2,388 applicants in the first round, exceeding the quota. 1 month's time, the number has exceeded 2,500. It is a very popular scheme. Through the scheme, we will be able to attract high-end, high-spending visitors to come to Hong Kong, which is beneficial to our tourism industry and our economy. I suggest the government conduct timely review on the daily quota of the southbound scheme. I believe our transport infrastructure and car parks have sufficient capacity to receive them. We will also see more charging posts because of the rising demand. Now, in the initial phase of the scheme, there may be some challenges and room for improvement. For example, some say that the approval procedures with the transport department is lengthy and there are often mistakes. There are also limited quotas and bad interfacing. There's also the issue of daily quotas on the part of the transport department. Now, this morning, Ms. Kamen Khan raised an oral question in this regard, and the government has already answered the question, so I will not labor this point. The government should enhance improving its e-government services and adjust the number of quota places according to demand, so that in the future, we are still prepared for expanding the scheme to other cities. Overall speaking, I believe these are just technical issues which can be overcome. So I fully support enhancing exchanges of people and vehicles between the two places, and we need to facilitate land-based transport. Now, with the busier exchange between the two places, I strongly support the government to implement the one vehicle, multiple ports arrangement so that a vehicle may be issued permits to different PCPs. It will also divert vehicles from PCPs like Lok Ma Chau and Shenzhen Bay. Drivers can choose the most suitable PCPs according to their destinations. So with the southbound and northbound travel scheme, I hope that in the future, the boundary service will be more efficient. So we should first study enhancements to the existing quota system. Now, some cross-boundary vehicle drivers already hold permits to different PCPs. So this can be extended to the majority of drivers. At Hung Yuen Wai and Lok Ma Chau, through the one vehicle multiple port system, drivers may cross the boundary as non-peak hours, say for example midnight, to alleviate the pressure. I also submit to support the motion and the amendments.
Mr. Kenneth Lau. Deputy President, I speak in support of Mr. Adrian HO's original motion on facilitating land-based cross-boundary transport. As we see greater integration within the Greater Bay Area, we have seen greater flows of people between the three places. In 2025, for the 6 land boundary control points, we have seen 18 million vehicles for the whole year. So right now we see cross-boundary transport arrangements not being able to meet this increased demand. In order to implement a 1 hour living circle, we really need to make breakthroughs. I have 3 suggestions. One, we should implement the one vehicle, multiple ports arrangement and improve the current quota system. The SAR government should take a gradual approach in implementing changes. The northbound travel for Hong Kong vehicles is well received, but vehicle owners can only make use of the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge to get to Guangdong Province. It is not flexible. I urge the government to work with mainland authorities to allow vehicles with regular quotas or qualifications to travel north, to travel through other ports. For example, for a vehicle who has a permit with the Shenzhen Bay port, they can make use of the Heyuan Wai boundary control point instead. Not only can that divert traffic, it can also help drivers flexibly plan routes based on real-time traffic conditions. The southbound travel for Guangdong vehicles was launched about a month ago, and we have already 2,500 applying, and over 1,000 vehicles have made bookings. 6 months later, we will extend the arrangements to other Greater Bay Area cities. I think the government should plan in advance, including increasing parking spaces in different parts of Hong Kong, while striking a balance with the capacity of the local traffic system. And during the weekends or holidays, when there is less traffic locally, we can perhaps increase the number of quotas of southbound travel for Guangdong vehicles. On digitalizing licensing and registration processes, right now the processes are still quite complex. I suggest that the government to have a single window for cross-boundary vehicles. With the current arrangements, we would have drivers going to different platforms to book for vehicle inspection, to purchase insurance, and to apply for license. I hope that in future, the services can be provided in a single location. We also want to enhance flexibility of express rail link services. It is important to provide a better experience for both commercial and general visitors. We now have increased the direct access mainland destinations from 44 to 96. We now have 208 trains instead of 166 before. We have more convenient train service now, but there is still room for improvement in coverage and frequency. I urge the government to implement flexi-trip arrangements to Guangzhou Nan and Guangzhou Dong Station, so as to provide convenience to frequent short-haul travelers. And we should also provide different forms of regular tickets or trip tickets to meet the needs of different visitors. Apart from implementing the collaborative inspection and joint clearance mode, we should make good use of more bio-identification technology, such to implement contactless clearance so as to enhance efficiency further. Transport infrastructure is the aorta for the development of the economy. It is only when this aorta is cleared that we can promote the smooth flow of factor input. I speak in support of the motion and amendments. I remind members that according to the House rules, this debate will end at latest 7:08 p.m. tonight, and I will invite the mover to speak at 6:36, and then we will deal with the remaining part of the debate. President, I thank Mr. Adrian HO for proposing the motion. Sustainability and efficiency are directly related to the development of Hong Kong. The government needs to be forward-looking to seize the future development opportunities. Whenever there is a holiday or a festive occasion, the waiting time for gold bus and yellow bus is very long, and it is often the source of complaints of citizens and visitors. With new arrangements, we have seen an improvement. The government actually has a grasp of a real-time flow of people at boundary control points. If we make use of AI tools to predict the flow of people and make dynamic adjustments, we should be able to divert the flow of people effectively and shorten waiting time. It will also be a good use of resources that we already have. The middle class group make use of private cars to travel across boundary, and with the northbound travel for Hong Kong vehicles and southbound travel for Guangdong vehicles arrangements, it has better met their needs, and we can see an implementation of the 1 hour living circle. And as at the middle of this month, the Transport Department already received 2,500 applications of southbound travel for Guangdong vehicles. So we can see great demand for cross-boundary private car travel. Right now, the length of the roads in the mainland is over 220,000 kilometers. Because they have adequate capacity to accommodate Hong Kong vehicles traveling north. But then Hong Kong's road system actually is the opposite. We need to make sure we account for our capacity. And right now, we do see a burden on our road system. So we need to take a gradual approach in relaxing restrictions on the quotas. I think we should also enhance the quota allocation mechanism. I believe some enhancement measures are already implemented to increase the success rate for allocation. I think we can look at the public housing allocation mechanism, and we should increase the odds of those who have not been able to successfully apply for such arrangements to be successful later. And for commercial visitors or cross-boundary families, designating a single port for travel will really pressure them. I think we can provide one vehicle, multiple ports arrangement. We can do that by dynamically monitoring the vehicular flow at different ports, and we can then allow vehicles with permits to go past a particular port at non-peak hours outside public holidays. They can inform a platform in advance to apply for passage at other ports. This should increase flexibility. However, right now after midnight, dual-plate private cars can only go through the Huangguang port. So I think the government should really continuously coordinate with the mainland to enhance flexibility with the implementation of the one vehicle, multiple ports arrangement. Right now, with various applications, vehicle inspection, purchase of insurance, or applying for the closed road permits, there are different complex processes. We should put all these services on a single platform so that users can complete most parts of the process online so that they don't have to go to different departments, so as to enhance efficiency and convenience. Express Rail Link is an important cross-boundary transport option. Sometimes there is not much time between transfers, so we need to, especially for the first train right now, it's pretty late, so it can really make passengers miss trains. We need to make sure passengers have enough time to complete the security check procedures and clearance procedures. I believe it is very important to improve transport and thus connectivity. I so submit. Your time is up. Thank you. Ms. Vivian Kong. Thank you, President. Under the premise of continuous promotion of high-quality development in the Greater Bay Area, we see great potential in cross-boundary transport. Right now, there are 9 land-based boundary control points, 6 of them that are road-based, 3 of them railway-based, and Liantang Hengyun Wai Port, because of its direct access to people and vehicles, it is very popular among the public and visitors. Its design capacity is just 30,000, but last year during the weekends it has a flow of 90,000 visit passengers, sometimes even reaching 115,000. The tourism sector said that during peak hours there are crowds and there is also congestion. It caused delays with tour groups affecting the experience of visitors. I hope that there can be improvement in boundary crossing facilities at Liantang Hengyun Wai Port, and I hope the government can work with the tourism sector to identify solutions. We suggest the government can communicate with the tourism board to divert traffic during peak hours. And for tour groups, we need to make sure to divert coach traffic with good management of basement car park of the ports and appropriately increase the number of parking spaces. Before the commissioning of the new Wai-kong port, I hope the administration can plan in advance to make sure to implement good diversion of traffic from the Hengyun Wai boundary control point. In Sandton, we have a coach car park where yellow buses would stop. Right now, the space is narrow. It is a safety hazard. In future, the government needs to enhance the drop-off and pick-up arrangements in Sandton so as to provide a greater experience to visitors. I also support the amendments of Mr. Pak-leung to expedite the redevelopment of Shuttlecock Control Point to alleviate the burden on Hengyun Wai Port to enhance clearance efficiency. It can also work in line with the government's efforts to develop tourism in Shuttlecock. But we also need to enhance the facilities in Shuttlecock. As we see more direct access mainland destinations of the express rail link, to increase flexibility of passengers, we suggest simplifying clearance procedures, shortening the waiting time, thereby enhancing efficiency. We should also have more flexible ticketing options as well as flexi-trip arrangements so that passengers can plan for multi-destination itineraries and be more flexible in their trip planning. Facilitating cross-boundary transport will enhance international competitiveness of the city. It will help us attract more mainland and international visitors. It can also boost the economy. I so submit speaking in support of the motion.
Dr. Alvin Lee. Thank you, President. President, I thank Mr. Adrian HO for moving this motion. I support this motion. I also support the amendments moved by 6 members. To further facilitate land-based cross-boundary transport will be crucial to integrating in-depth into the Greater Bay Area and enhancing the competitiveness of Hong Kong. Now, I represent the arts and cultural sector. I'm concerned about the flow of culture and talents and industrial collaboration in the 3 places. Cross-boundary people flow reached a new peak in 2024. 250 million passenger trips were recorded at the land-based BCPs, and it's up by 50% comparing to the previous year. This shows a great demand for land-based cross-boundary transport. I have Now, I fully agree with the original motion. A number of enhancement measures should be put in place. We should study the one vehicle, multiple ports arrangement and optimize the northbound travel for Hong Kong vehicle scheme. We should provide greater flexibility for the high-speed rail passengers. We should enhance the efficiency of existing ports and optimize the functions when it comes to cargo clearance. First, I agree with other members in this adopting the collaborative inspection and joint clearance mode. After introducing this mode in New Hong Kong Port, should it be successful, we should further extend the same model to other BCPs such as Liantang Hang Yuen Wai. In the last term, the Security Bureau briefed the panel members on the conditions of the Liantang Hang Yuen Wai port, and there is space to introduce collaborative inspection and joint clearance there. Drawing on the success at the Hangqing BCP, we can introduce the same, because in 2024, in the first 3 quarters, by adopting this mode, 84.3% of passengers were cleared at Hangqin. It's very popular, and it has the design. The design capacity is 3 times that of the traditional mode, so it's very efficient in diverting crowds, and I believe this will enhance the passengers' experience, especially during major festivals. I also agree with Captain Lothair Lam in enhancing the land-based transit of goods, and we need to give play to Hong Kong's role as an international trade hub. According to media reports in January this year, the value of cargoes going through land-based BCPs for the first time exceeded 300 billion renminbi, up by 40%. That's an apparent growth. Benefiting from the facilitation measures rolled out by the Customs and Excise and other streamlined application procedures, we're able to achieve expeditious clearance for eligible vehicles. This will further enhance the efficiency of cargo clearance. This can help unleash potential. I think the governments in Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau should actively look into extending the facilitation measure to other land-based BCPs. For example, an express channel can be set up for cross-boundary freight clearance. The advanced booking system can be introduced to promote mutual flow of information and mutual recognition. The Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge is directly connected to Zhuhai Airport and Hong Kong Airport, and leveraging on this advantage, we can give play to the high value-added businesses in Hong Kong by adopting the intermodal transport as well as cold chain storage. This can give play to the strategic value of the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge and enhance efficiency. This will also bolster Hong Kong's status as an international logistics hub. We are at a very convenient location. This can help improve trade and logistics in the mainland as well. It is important that we enhance the efficiency of cross-boundary transport as set out in the 15th Five-Year Plan so as to promote integration into the Greater Bay Area. I hope the government will continue to work on enhancing efficiency. I support the motion and the amendments. Dr. Ho Li. I thank Mr. Adrian HO and for his motion and amendments by other members. We have heard invaluable views expressed by members on facilitating land-based cross-boundary transport. Now I'd like to take another perspective, and that is for businessmen from elsewhere around the world, how and their experience in using land-based BCPs and what we can do to help enhance this experience. To make the Greater Bay Area the world-class Bay Area, we need to enhance interconnectivity and coordinated development. What is important is to make sure that business travelers in other places will find it convenient to travel between Hong Kong and Shenzhen. I have friends in the business circle, and according to them, they find the experience inconvenient when they travel from Hong Kong to Shenzhen and to other cities in the Greater Bay Area. And they are required to travel a lot to the Greater Bay Area, especially Shenzhen, for business. Now take vehicles crossing the boundary as an example. Most vehicles, when arriving at Shenzhen Bay Port or Hong Kong Port, can go through the immigration clearance without having the passengers get out of the car first. And in Hong Kong, for example, overnight passengers are required to queue up, and in Shenzhen Bay there is a dedicated channel. That means passengers are required to get out of the car, go through immigration before they board the car again to Shenzhen. The situation is not the same when they come back from Shenzhen to Hong Kong. It's much more convenient. Now, if we allow passengers to remain in their vehicles as they go through immigration clearance at both BCPs, it will bring a lot of convenience to foreign business travelers, and this can help promote economic development. I hope the government will discuss with the Shenzhen counterpart and the central authorities about allowing foreign travelers to stay in the vehicles as they travel through the BCPs, so as to streamline the procedures. The other point is about mutual recognition of license plates of vehicles. Again, foreign business travelers should be allowed to use their own cars or the cars they hired to go through the boundary. A dedicated channel can be set up for business travelers, and then they can make a declaration and make a booking to use this channel a day in advance, so as to shorten the time of clearance at the BCPs. Because usually these foreigners take longer to go through immigration clearance. We can also study with the mainland counterparts the possibility of issuing fast passes for eligible foreign business travelers. We should enhance our services, and we can look into the setting up of a special service center for foreign business travelers in the Greater Bay Area. At major transport hubs such as the West Kowloon high-speed rail terminus or the airport, we can set up a service center that provides advice on car hire, cross-boundary vehicles, so on and so forth, so as to enhance the experience of foreign business travelers. This can help bring more business to Hong Kong. I so submit, Mr. Lau Kar-keung. I support Mr. Adrian HO's original motion so that we have this opportunity to discuss facilitating land-based cross-boundary transport. There have been increased people flow in the Greater Bay Area. BCPs are now much busier. Take Lo Wu BCP, Lok Ma Chau, or other land-based BCPs such as Wai-kong that serves cross-boundary vehicles. They are bursting at the seam. They are very crowded. The high-speed rail was commenced operation years ago, and yet there is room to further enhance connectivity between the high-speed rail terminus and the airport and land-based BCPs. For example, for mainland travelers coming to Hong Kong for transit on high-speed rail, or for international travelers coming to Hong Kong on transit for furthering their journeys to the mainland via the high-speed rail, they need to hold their luggage to go through immigration clearance and security checks. There is room to enhance the supporting facilities to bring convenience to travelers and residents. My suggestion, first of all, is to enhance public transport connectivity at and around BCPs. We should extend the operating hours of land-based BCPs at Shenzhen Bay and Lo Wu, etc. during weekends and peak periods. We should also have more frequent departures of cross-boundary coaches at the BCP. We should optimize the taxi stand arrangement The second suggestion is to enhance the efficiency of cross-boundary vehicle clearance. Dual license vehicles must only use designated BCPs. Say, if you want to go to Chiuchao or Shantou and other areas on the eastern side of China through Shenzhen Bay, or if you want to go to Moming, these cities on the western side through Liantang BCP, then you'll be making a great detour. And I think that a study should be conducted to make sure that the vehicular flow is evenly distributed. We can provide greater flexibility at the BCPs. For example, for the E channel, we can expand the scope to cover all eligible cross-boundary vehicles. We can also make reference to the practice in Qingmao and Hengqin BCP by adopting the collaborative inspection and joint clearance model to further shorten the time for clearance. The third suggestion relates to the southbound travel for Guangdong vehicles. Just in the first month of its commissioning, we received 2,500 applications. Over 1,000 private cars from the mainland have come to Hong Kong. Now, this scheme covers 4 cities in Guangzhou, Zhuhai, Jiamen, and Zhongshan. I'm happy to learn from the Bureau that about 6 months later, they plan to cover 4 more cities in the Guangdong province. The government will also review the situation in adjusting the quota and the maximum days of stay. The fourth suggestion is to enhance connectivity between the high-speed rail and the airport, as well as the land-based BCPs. A multi-journey ticketing system should be put in place. It should be connected to the mainland system. We should also promote seamless transition for cross-boundary transport. In order to promote coordinated development of the Greater Bay Area, we need to make steady progress to achieve higher interconnectivity. I submit, I support the motion and the amendments.
Ms. Grace Chen, President, I speak in thanks of the original motion moved by Mr. Adrian HO. I'm focusing on a specific group today, that is, elderly people who choose to retire across the border and also their carers. When we talk about integrating into the 1-hour living circle in the Bay Area, it's more than just economic activity. We are also talking about cross-boundary flow of caring resources. Now, there are some 690,000 or 69,000 elderly people residing in the Guangdong province on a long-term basis. That's the choice made by tens of thousands of families with elderly charge. Now, the express rail link plays an important role to the carers and their charge. It is an expeditious means of transport. It is also comfortable and reliable. Its position is irreplaceable. So in terms of facilitating land-based cross-boundary transport, we need to embed high-speed rail services into our elderly care policy measures. There are 2 suggestions I would like to make. First, there should be universal accessibility features on the high-speed rail along the whole journey. From home to the station, there are lots of obstacles. We need to remove these obstacles for the elderly people. For example, station and train car services. Can the Social Welfare Department collaborate with the service provider and set aside areas for elderly passengers? And can there be luggage space for elderly people? There should also be more universal accessibility facilities during the interchanging journey. Now, for those elderly people who need to come back to Hong Kong on a frequent basis for healthcare, there must be a green lane with pre-approved features for them. They should be allowed to bring along their own medications and medical devices. So we need to prioritize them during the customs clearance journey. Now, emergency service is important because whenever there are health emergencies, every second counts. We need to collaborate with the high-speed rail service provider. When there are medical emergencies, can we prioritize sorting out the fare issues of the carriers? Now, the land-based cross-boundary transport is only the means. The goal is the people. We need to create more conditions and choices for elderly people to retire happily. I support the motion and the amendments. Thank you. The last speaker to speak, Ms. Julia Lau. Thank you, President. Integration into the Bay Area is the strategy of the nation. It is an inevitable trend for our generation. So how can we prepare our land-based cross-boundary transport for that? Now, in 2023, the first single-plate vehicle of Hong Kong drove into the mainland. That symbolized the relaxation of policies and the speeding up of cross-boundary travel. Now, the northbound scheme and the southbound travel scheme have been popular. Cross-boundary land travel has resumed the pre-epidemic level. Now, we need to integrate ourselves into the mainland transportation system. The idea of one vehicle, multiple ports is a very innovative idea. I support offering maximum flexibility for cross-boundary vehicles, but we need to tackle the following issues carefully. First, allocation and distribution of vehicular flow. The most popular BCPs are Shenzhen Bay, Lok Ma Chau, and Lo Wu. If the customs clearance capacity cannot catch up with insufficient carrying capacity, then all the BCPs may see congestion simultaneously. So we need to control the traffic volume, and there must be an application and reserve system, like making a reservation in a popular Japanese restaurant. We can't just chance it on luck. Second, the one vehicle multiple ports arrangements will pose difficulties to the law enforcement agencies. Now we have the east in, east out, west in, west out system for goods vehicles, while private cars will use another BCP. Now if this one vehicle multiple ports arrangement is implemented, it may disrupt the original arrangement. Commercial vehicles may be used for providing higher service for individual customers. Now, finally, we need to look at the figures. During last year's Easter holiday, over 5 days period, some 5 million people entered and exit Hong Kong via the land BCP. The peak of inbound visitors was some 610,000. At the peak hours, the Lo Wu and Lok Ma Chau spur line waiting time exceeds 40 minutes. So these passengers could not afford the comfort in private cars. Rather, they were queuing in the heat with backpacks on the back. So we need to move our focus from drivers to passengers. Every dollar spent should be used for helping the majority of the public. Now we need to turn express rail link into a means of public transport. It is our backbone. However, because of the time required for customs clearance and waiting time, it looks like a kind of long-distance mode of transport. Now we need to make the express rail link affordable on a daily basis. There should be dedicated departures for daily commuters. There should also be weekly and monthly pass so that the Guangzhou South and Shenzhen North can be connected via the express rail link. We need to also implement the collaborative inspection and joint clearance. This is not an easy task, but it will alleviate the psychological burden on travelers. They can enjoy more certainty. We should duplicate this arrangement in all BCPs. Thirdly, the new territories Northwest must be embedded into the GBA's transportation network. Now, the Hong Kong-Shenzhen Western Rail Link can bring passengers to Qianhai in 15 minutes' time. The new territories Northwest will no longer be an isolated corner, but rather a part of the Bay Area. By 2035, it must be commissioned. We can afford no delay. Now we can connect hearts and people with a good transport policy. We need to serve the normal backpackers and prioritize our resources on them. Thank you. I so submit. Mr. Adrian HO, you may now speak on the amendments. Thank you, President. First of all, I thank the 6 members who moved amendments on the motion. The amendments tackle my original motion from different angles. They have fleshed out my motion as well. I thank them for their constructive suggestions. Captain Lothair Lam's amendment focuses on cross-boundary logistics and also facilitating foreign visitors to enter into the mainland through Hong Kong. It aligns with our role as an interchanging hub. We are an important link between the country and the world. Logistics connectivity is important for the synergized growth of the Bay Area. I have been very concerned on utilizing the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge to bring about synergized developments of the 3 places, and also the idea of collaborative inspection and joint clearance to speed up logistic clearance and enhance our position in the international supply chain. For international travelers, besides mega events, as well as our attractive retail and catering services, the efficiency of our BCP customs clearance can also encourage visitors to stay. Now, Mr. Ho-fung's amendments focus on the impact on our society. There are views that the northbound traveling trend has posed challenges to local businesses, but I think with more convenient cross-boundary travel, there are opportunities for both sides. The priority is to enhance our competitiveness and ride on this opportunity to attract more visitors to Hong Kong, turning people flow into economic impetus. If the southbound scheme is further expanded, there will be even more opportunities for our consumption markets and the traveling industry. Now, Dr. Ben Chan's amendment proposed to implement the collaborative inspection and joint clearance mode at more BCPs. I fully support this idea. The new Huanggang port to be commissioned soon will see this new arrangement. You only need to queue once and get your documents to be inspected once, and then the procedure is done. I support expanding the arrangements to other BCPs. I hope the government can negotiate with the counterparts in Shenzhen quickly and duplicate the arrangements to transiting passengers in our airport. Mr. Perry Yu's amendments mentioned that we should strive for more direct access mainland destinations from the express rail link and also speed up the redevelopment of the charter core control points. This aligns with my motion as well. Enhancing the convenience of the express rail link and better service there will attract more visitors to Hong Kong. For Mr. Lam Wai-kong and Mr. Yim Kong's amendments on enhancing the mutual recognition of standards and cross-boundary e-government services, as well as strengthening ancillary facilities, these are good ideas to strengthen the connectivity of people and logistics in the Bay Area. Now, I ask the government to consider our suggestions seriously and respond to our suggestions with concrete measures to facilitate flow of people and goods. This will enhance our competitiveness, as well as enhancing the pace of our integration into the national development blueprint. I ask members to support my motion. Thank you.
Under Secretary for Security. President, I would like to thank Mr. Adrian HO for proposing the motion, the 6 members for proposing amendments, and other members for giving their valuable views on the motion. I would like to give a brief summary of operations of land boundary control points and measures to enhance efficiency of customs clearance at the control points, as well as the direction of the government's future work. We have seen increased cross-boundary traveling with the development of the Greater Bay Area. Last year, the total number of cross-boundary passenger trips at land boundary control points amounted to about 280 million, up about 13% over 2024, of which about 33 million were of mainland visitors, up about 12% over 2024. Cross-boundary private car and goods vehicle traffic is gradually increasing as well. In view of the growing demand for clearance services, the HKSAR government has been working closely with the relevant mainland municipal governments and ministries and commissions through forward planning and continuous coordination in various aspects, such as flexible deployment of manpower, optimal use of information technology, and enhancement of boundary control facilities to enhance the overall clearance capacity to facilitate the two-way flow of Hong Kong and Guangdong residents. On operations and management of the control points, the relevant departments have adopted a multi-pronged approach to ensure smooth and orderly passenger and vehicular traffic. To cope with increased demand during festive and holiday periods, the boundary control points put in place an interdepartmental coordination mechanism that is well established at this point. The Interdepartmental Joint Command Center, comprising representatives of the police, the immigration department, the customs and excise department, and other relevant departments, is in operation during long holidays to monitor passenger and vehicular traffic in real time and make prompt adjustments to deployment of manpower and open up additional counters and vehicle inspection lanes as necessary. In addition, Guangdong, Hong Kong, and Macau have set up hotlines and a real-time notification mechanism to maintain close liaison on passenger and vehicular traffic, as well as unforeseen circumstances to facilitate early planning. On application of technology, the HKSAR government continuously introduced innovative technology to enhance clearance efficiency and management. In Q4 of last year, the Customs and Excise Department introduced an image analysis system to enhance the efficiency of passenger clearance and effectiveness of law enforcement. The Immigration Department also plans to set up the first contactless clearance pilot point at the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, Hong Kong Port, to allow eligible citizens to verify their identities through the use of facial recognition technology. We also have a one-stop information platform to provide real-time waiting times for private cars as well as coaches for the planning of citizens. In future, we will introduce AI assessments to increase accuracy. Looking ahead, upgrading infrastructure of land boundary control points is essential to cope with the continuous growth in passenger traffic. Hong Kong and Shenzhen are pressing ahead with the redevelopment of the Hong Kong Port and Shuttlecock control point. The redeveloped Hong Kong Port will implement co-location arrangements and a new clearance mode called collaborative inspection and joint clearance. The Shuttlecock control point will be redeveloped under the cross-river construction approach and will implement collaborative inspection and joint clearance. We completed the works feasibility study for the Hong Kong side and gazetted the land resumption proposal in December last year. The government will continue to work closely with the Shenzhen municipal government to actively take forward the redevelopment projects to bring greater convenience to cross-boundary travelers. We also noted members' comments on operating hours. The operating hours of land boundary control points are negotiated between the governments of Hong Kong and Shenzhen and are subject to the approval of the central authorities. Extending the operating hours of control points involves changes to the operations of control points. Careful consideration must be given to a host of factors. On the basis of round-the-clock passenger clearance service being provided at Lok Ma Chau Hong Kong Port and Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, we will continue to keep in view the demand for passenger clearance service, and if there is such need, extend the operating hours of the passenger clearance service at individual boundary control points in consultation with the relevant mainland authorities. The Hong Kong and Shenzhen governments will also discuss special clearance arrangements in light of demand for clearance service on festive occasions. Lastly, I would like to thank members once again for putting forward many valuable suggestions during the debate. The Security Bureau will study them carefully and work with relevant bureaus and departments. Through flexible deployment of resources, application of technology, interdepartmental cooperation, and collaboration between Hong Kong and Guangdong, we will continue to improve clearance capabilities and provide better convenience to promote the interconnectivity between Hong Kong and other Greater Bay Area cities.
Secretary for Transport and Logistics. President, first of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Adrian HO for moving the motion on facilitating land-based cross-boundary transport. I also like to thank members for moving amendments. I've listened carefully to their views, and I'd like to thank members for their invaluable input. Hong Kong's transport network is extensive, as we all know. The transport infrastructure and public transport services closely connect Guangdong, Hong Kong, and Macau in an efficient manner. This does not only apply to accessibility. More importantly, it also helps us fulfill this mission of fostering the greater flow of people, capital, and goods in the Greater Bay Area. Now, I want to share with you some figures. In the past 7 years, for the high-speed rail Hong Kong section, the Hong Kong-Macau Bridge, the Liantang-Hung-Yuen-Wai BCP, and the third runway system at the Hong Kong International Airport, they have been commissioned one after another. And they have exponentially enhanced Hong Kong's capacity and resilience in air, rail, and land transport. In the first 10 months of 2025, the total patronage of public transport in Hong Kong reached 3.54 billion, averaging about 12 million passengers trips per day. The high-speed rail Hong Kong section recorded over 30 million passenger trips, while the airport handled 61 million passengers in 2025. In the past 7 years since the commissioning, according to the statistics, over 100 million passenger trips have been recorded for the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge and high-speed rail. We will continue to put people first, and we will continue to enhance the quality and efficiency of the transport system in Hong Kong so as to enhance passenger experience. And it is important that we leverage on technology and improve infrastructure to improve efficiency, to strengthen our core advantage as the gateway, and to drive the economy and improve people's livelihood. We will not only enhance local public transport services, we will also further improve Hong Kong's connectivity with other cities in the Greater Bay Area as well as the mainland and the world. In terms of infrastructure and cross-boundary public transport services. And I will respond to members' key comments. First, on rail transport. The SAR government and railway operators in the mainland have been closely monitoring the development of the national high-speed rail network so as to increase the number of direct destinations for the Hong Kong section. We will also optimize the services in a timely manner to provide passengers with more choices. For example, in August 2023 and March 2024, the MTR Corporation launched the Flexi Trip arrangement for journeys between Hong Kong West Kowloon Station and Futian and Shenzhen North Station respectively. This allows passengers to change to designated trains between the two stations up to 3 times on the same day free of charge. So there is flexibility for passengers. Under the Flexi Trip arrangement, non-reserved seating is also put in place to provide greater flexibility for passengers to adjust their travel plans. The MTRC also rolled out the 30-day ticket and the 20-ride ticket in January 2024 to make it convenient for cross-boundary travelers. We are also aware that the MTRC is actively working with mainland authorities on the feasibility and operational arrangements for introducing same-day single-use e-ticket arrangements for high-speed rail Hong Kong section. This would allow passengers holding this ticket to choose any train of the same direction and class on the day of travel. It will provide greater flexibility. We support the MTR Corporation. We'll also urge the corporation to complete the preparation for the early launch of this ticketing arrangement. To strengthen connectivity on infrastructure in the Greater Bay Area, we're working with the Shenzhen authorities through the Task Force for Hong Kong Shenzhen Cooperation on Cross-Boundary Railway Infrastructure to promote 2 cross-boundary railway projects, the Northern Link Spur Line and the Hong Kong Shenzhen Western Rail Link Hongshi-Q to Qianhai. These 2 projects are expected to be commissioned in 2034 and 35 respectively. They will provide direct rail services to Hong Kong Control Point, Shenzhen Bay Control Point, and Qianhai, thereby fully integrating the metro networks of Hong Kong and Shenzhen. The planned Northern Link East Extension and Northeast New Territories Line are also intended to connect to Man Kam To and Hung Yuen Wai Control Point in the future. Upon commissioning of these railway lines, the number of land boundary control points in the northern metropolis with railway coverage will increase drastically from 2 to 6, which will further help divert passengers to other control points and promote integration and development of Hong Kong and Shenzhen. On road transport, I'd like to make a point on the regular quota system for cross-boundary private cars. The governments of Guangdong, Hong Kong, and Macau have jointly managed the system, and we've increased quotas in an orderly manner to meet the demand. In 2024, the number of cross-boundary private car trips via Hong Kong's land boundary control points reached 9.5 million. That's a 25% increase compared to the same period in 2019, just 5 years ago. To meet the demand, the application and licensing mechanisms for various cross-boundary arrangements have been optimized. A number of members just now raised the feasibility of one vehicle multiple control point arrangements. In fact, for cross-boundary coaches and taxis, this arrangement has been implemented since December 2023. It allows operators to deploy vehicles with flexibility at the approved control points. As for private cars, from the perspective of BCP operations, we must consider the impact on the BCP and nearby traffic, and as well as whether measures can be put in place during peak periods to ensure effective diversion at each control point. We need to study these options carefully. For example, if a large number of dual-plate private cars concentrate at a particular control point, it may affect clearance efficiency, it may cause traffic congestion that will spill over to local roads. It will make it difficult for regular quota users to estimate clearance and travel times. But I also note the good suggestions from members. For example, we should carefully study the capacity of our own BCPs, and we need to have discussions with the mainland authorities. We need to make sure that members of the public are well aware of the situation regarding different BCPs, as well as the time required for going through the clearance procedures. And we can leverage on technology to solve these problems. The Hong Kong government will definitely have regard to the interests of the public in mind. We will also actively discuss with the mainland counterparts. Now I turn to northbound travel for Hong Kong vehicles. Members just now asked whether the government would consider opening up the other BCPs for northbound travel scheme users to meet the increasing demand. This can help divert traffic. The government has been closely monitoring the traffic condition at the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge during peak periods. Different departments will adopt measures to enhance the capacity at the BCPs in order to meet the demand, be it peak periods or otherwise. We also urge members of the public to adjust their travel plans based on the different situations. Now, after all, the cross-boundary travel schemes and the relevant arrangements at BCPs are something new. We need to have comprehensive consideration. We will make sure that we make good use of the surplus capacity of the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge to promote integration of the Greater Bay Area. As for the regular quota scheme, we have decided to optimize the plan. Some quotas will be reserved for Hong Kong permanent residents and Hong Kong registered companies. They are not required to observe the current restrictions. Now, Mr. Adrian HO, as I understand, has made a number of comments on the same issue. He is closely following up on this issue, and we do keep all options open on this basis. Members are also concerned about the southbound travel for Guangdong vehicle scheme. I'd like to reiterate that the Park and Fly service operated by the Airport Authority Hong Kong on the artificial island of the Hong Kong port of the bridge was launched in November. We've already received over 2,000 reservations. In fact, within a month, over 2,500 applications from Guangdong vehicles and over 1,000 reservations were received. The feedback was positive. We will continue to enhance the arrangement according to the 4 major strategies of ensuring safety, effective traffic diversion, comprehensive support, and simple application procedures. We believe that the scheme will provide mainland visitors with more convenient and flexible options for coming to Hong Kong for business meetings, exhibitions, and exchange activities. It will also drive bilateral business, tourism, professional exchanges within the Greater Bay Area. The scheme will also open up opportunities for Guangdong Hong Kong business cooperation. There are boundless opportunities. I also look forward to the Park and Fly arrangements enhancements, which will help strengthen Hong Kong's status as an international aviation hub. Now, about other supporting facilities, let me explain that the Transport Department has rolled out a dedicated website for southbound travel for Guangdong vehicles. In fact, we also make use of apps such as A-Map, and we actively respond to the requests. We attach great importance to road safety at the 13 inspection vehicles in Guangdong province. We make sure there is stringent gatekeeping when it comes to vehicle inspection. We also make sure that our rules are kept up with the times, and that is why we closely monitor the development of vehicle-related technologies. And we also have new energy vehicles taking part in the southbound travel scheme, as well as cars equipped with autonomous driving function. There is also concern about the light transmission rate of car windows. Now, we want to keep up with the times, and that is why, as I have said before, we want to conduct a review in the first half of this year, and we will report to LegCo members on the outcome. Now, about the charging facilities for cars coming southbound, as I mentioned, we have some 40 quick chargers with the Guobiao standard, and this can help meet the demand through the sector, the business sector, the property sector. We hope that more charging facilities will be provided in shopping malls and hotels. Ideally, these vehicles, when parked in the car parks of hotels and shopping malls, will be charged through the use of quick chargers. And some members mentioned new Hong Kong Port non-franchise buses, the passenger arrangements, as well as the Hong Kong Port Terminal building. We understand fully that we should provide greater facilitation to public transport across the boundary. At the same time, we are aware of the operational needs. I understand, for example, for tourist coaches, they have their own demands. We strive to strike a balance. For cross-boundary coaches and non-franchise buses, we want to leverage them so that we can enhance the capacity and improve the overall transport arrangement. The third point is about the cross-boundary driving arrangements. In fact, the governments of Guangdong and Hong Kong have gradually rolled out enhancement measures to bring more convenience to the members of the public. For example, a one-stop online platform will be set up for the northbound and southbound schemes, and will strive to process reservation applications online so that we can put in place a digitalized licensing system. The other point is about land-based cross-boundary freight transport. It is related to trade, economic development, and people's livelihood. It is also a major pillar for Hong Kong's status as an international logistics center and aviation hub. And on this front, we'll continue to enhance the relevant arrangements on cross-boundary goods vehicles. We will abide by the principle of maintaining stability and maintaining capacity, and we'll also consult the views of stakeholders such as goods owners and frontline drivers to make sure that there is sufficient capacity. And in terms of mutual recognition of the licenses of commercial vehicles in Hong Kong, Guangdong, and Macau, there will be more in-depth studies to explore the feasibility of mutual recognition. And I'd like to turn to another point for the latest single lock mechanism introduced by the Customs and Excise Department and other facilitation measures. These seek to bolster our status as an international logistics hub. Now, finally, President, I'd like to thank members for their invaluable views on facilitating land-based cross-boundary transport. We need to leverage on the development opportunities of the Greater Bay Area, and we'll continue to enhance the transport infrastructure and strengthen our position so as to drive the transport system towards a new era of efficiency and sustainability. Thank you.
I now call upon Captain Lothair Lam to move an amendment. President, I move my amendment. I propose the question to you that Captain Lothair Lam's amendments be passed. I now put the question to you as stated. Voting begins. Members will please press the present button. For those in favor, please raise their hands. Those against, please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by the majority of each of the two groups of members present, that is, members returned by the election committee and those returned by functional constituencies and by geographical constituencies. I declare the amendments passed. Mr. Perry Yu, as the preceding amendment has been passed, you may move your further amendments. President, I move my further amendments. I propose the question to you that Mr. Perry Yu's further amendments be passed. I now put the question to you as stated. Voting begins. Members will please press the present button. With those in favor, please raise their hands. Those against, please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by the majority of each of the two groups of members present, that is, members returned by the election committee and those returned by functional constituencies and by geographical constituencies. I declare the amendments passed. Mr. John Ho-fung, as the preceding amendments are passed, you may move your further amendments. President, I move my further amendments. I propose the question to you that Mr. John Ho-fung's further amendments be passed. I now put the question to you as stated. Voting begins. Members will please press the present button. With those in favor, please raise their hands. Those against, please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by the majority of each of the two groups of members present, that is, members returned by the election committee and those returned by functional constituencies and by geographical constituencies. I declare the amendments passed. Dr. Ben Chan, as the preceding amendments are passed, you may move your further amendments. President, I move my further amendments. I propose the question to you that Dr. Ben Chan's further amendments be passed. I now put the question to you as stated. Voting begins. Members will please press the present button. With those in favor, please raise their hands. Those against, please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by the majority of each of the two groups of members present, that is, members returned by the election committee and those returned by functional constituencies and by geographical constituencies. I declare the amendments passed. Mr. Lam Wai-kong, as the preceding amendments are passed, you may move your further amendments. President, I move my further amendments. I propose the question to you that Mr. Lam Wai-kong's further amendments be passed. I now put the question to you as stated. Voting begins. Members will please press the present button. Will those in favor please raise their hands? Those against, please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by the majority of each of the two groups of members present, that is, members returned by the election committee and those returned by functional constituencies and by geographical constituencies. I declare the amendments passed. Mr. Erik, as the preceding amendments are passed, you may move your further amendments. President, I move my further amendments. I propose the question to you that Mr. Erik further amendments be passed. I now put the question to you as stated. Voting begins. Members will please press the present button. Will those in favor please raise their hands? Those against, please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by the majority of each of the two groups of members present, that is, members returned by the election committee and those returned by functional constituencies and by geographical constituencies. I declare the amendments passed. Mr. Adrian HO, you still have 1 minute, 38 seconds to reply, then the debate will come to a close. Mr. Adrian HO. Thank you, President. A sincere thank to the 41 members who have spoken on my motion. The debate has showcased this Council's consensus and pragmatic manner on integrating with the developments of the Bay Area. Once again, I hope members will support my motion. Thank you. I now put the question to you that Mr. Adrian HO's motion as amended by Captain Lothair Lam, Mr. Erik, Mr. Chong Ho-fung, Dr. Ben Chan, Mr. Lam Wai-kong, and Mr. Erik be passed. Voting begins. Members will please press the present button. With those in favor, please raise their hands. Those against, please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by the majority of each of the two groups of members present, that is, members returned by the election committee and those returned by functional constituencies and by geographical constituencies. I declare the motion as amended passed. Council is now adjourned until 11 a.m. on Wednesday, the 4th of February, 2025.